Right now.
All right, we're recording in 5, 4, 3.
Coming up on the next Education Forum, Dr. DanRose, Director of Counseling Services at CSU. Live from the studio in the College of Education and Health Professions, high atop Jordan Hall at Columbus State University in Columbus, Georgia, this is Education Forum with your hosts, Dr. Jeff Conklin and Greg Blaylock. Hi, welcome to Education Forum. I'm Jeff Conklin with my co-host, Dr. Greg Blaylock. Welcome, Greg.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Our guest today is Dr. DanRose, who is the Director of Counseling Services here at Columbus State University. Welcome, Dan.
Howdy. You know, your intro's better than mine, and I'm feeling sad right now.
And well, you should.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, that's like that's impressive.
Yeah, that's why we had you on your show.
That's why we got you.
Yeah,
Maybe we can pick up some tips on openers. But
Maybe,
anyway, so you're the Director of Counseling Services here at CSU. What does that entail? What is your mission?
Well, if you don't mind, I should be wearing my glasses because of my allergy, but I'm going to set them on because when I see myself on camera, I get nauseous. So this will really make this easier. So you had a question there. What was that question again?
You're the Director of Counseling Services.
I am.
What is the mission of the Counseling Services here at CSU?
Well, we would like to, you know, a reign of happiness across campus is what we'd like to, everyone to be happy, lots of hugs. Ever see that, any Disney film really is what we're looking for. But actually, no, our goal would be to, emotional wellness. How about that?
Emotional wellness.
Emotional wellness, to be able to for every student who comes on this campus to be able to meet their academic potential. That is our goal. And so one of the things that gets in the way of meeting academic potential are adjustment difficulties, emotional concerns, mental health issues, sometimes very serious.
Okay.
We're there for that.
All right.
Is that common? Is it common that students come into college will have some of those issues that get in the way of their academics, or is it more of every so often?
I think the last stat is 78% of every student who will enter a college campus can be diagnosed with some mental condition or some transient or not so transient emotional concern.
So
yes, it's high.
Yeah, so why is that? Is that a reflection of that age in general, or is it a reflection of college
Society?
Students? Why is?
Well, I think that it could be because diagnostic criteria have gone crazy, and now we're just diagnosing everything. That's always a possibility.
Okay.
So we should. However, to some degree, it is a myth that adolescence and post-adolescence is a time of what is the German term? Strum and Drang. What am I? Trying to sound smart here, but it's not necessarily a time in which people are experiencing more emotional distress than other times. I think it's just that it's tough to be a human being.
Okay.
I think that's can we keep it with that? I think it's just there's nothing about being that age that makes you somehow crazy. It's just tough.
Life.
Yeah, life is
It's tough.
It is.
It is.
Play more disc golf.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But then the counseling center, it's there for students.
Mm-hmm.
Does the counseling center have interaction with staff or faculty on any level? And if so, how does that play out typically?
Well, we do. We are available for consultation, so if a staff member or faculty member has any concerns, it's sort of like having a psychologist on your speed dial. So we are out there. So if you have any concerns, we do that. We also do outreach. We often, mostly for students, but sometimes for staff and faculty, we generate some things. For instance, we have every Monday, and I believe it's Wednesday and Friday, we have a meditation So if people can show up at 8:45, and one of our psychologists leads a mindfulness and meditation exercise.
Okay.
How interesting. And how does one that's just come and get involved, or do you sign up in
You
advance?
can just show up, and if you and bring your psyche,
Okay, so
bring your
there's-
frontal lobe, your executive
That
functioning,
requirement.
because mindfulness that's what we're exercising in a mindfulness exercise. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get back on the mindfulness, but you mentioned 78%.
I think that was
of
the last
students.
stat I saw.
Okay, so are you seeing 78% of the students here?
Good gravy, no. Boy, that just.
What numbers are you
I
seeing?
had a panic attack. Well, the numbers about 10%, and that's actually higher than most. We're really, well, I'm not sure if I'm lucky because I get paid whether I actually do anything or not. That's the great thing of being a salaried employee. But there are about 10% of the students access our services.
Okay.
So we actually have a pretty high percentage of students who
And
come to hang out with us.
that's better than other
Yeah,
campuses.
if it was, I think it can be as low as 4 to 6% in some campuses.
Okay.
So we're so either we're doing something right or something wrong, just because I end up having to work harder. Really, is
Now,
my
does that
concern.
mean that, have we seen an increase in that, in the number of people accessing services, or does it remain the same?
But in fact, this is an interesting thing. That when I first took this gig, 1932. When I first took this gig, that wasn't 1932. I'm not that old.
I knew
I'm not
that.
Roundabout 34,
How about, yeah.
35.
I was going to let it go, but
But this is, I've been director 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. I don't know how long it's been. But when I first took the gig, one way to measure sort of crisis is hospitalizations.
Okay.
And we may have one every couple of years. Now we can have as many as 35 a year.
no
Is that
kidding.
right?
That
So
big an increase.
there is and what has happened, and this is my theory, and it's not what someone has put in the water, but that students that would have some significant emotional concerns in the past would have been failed by the system. They wouldn't have made it this far.
Okay.
So what often happens is now we have a culture, we have a society, we have a school system that is much better serves the interests and needs of students with emotional concerns.
Okay.
So they're actually able to reach the collegiate level in ways they couldn't before. And so they are now needing, just like they need that sort of support and services as they were moving up the pike, now they need it now. So in some ways, even though particularly a lot of my fellow directors across the country bemoan the fact that the sky is falling, we're dealing with more suicidal students, more on-campus suicides and whatnot, in a way, it is a reflection of success.
Right, because we do know we're seeing on college campuses, this one included, a greater diversity of students, diversity in multiple ways. And of course, one aspect of diversity is mental health, emotional health.
Absolutely,
And so, that makes sense. We see students coming from varied and different backgrounds than we did even 10 years ago at the university. And so I agree, that in some respect, that is a measure of success. We're reaching out to a larger segment of
We
population.
have
in
students
higher
from
education.
Alabama. I don't know if you've ever been to that place.
I've heard a little about it.
yeah.
Absolutely,
That's,
absolutely.
that's,
So when you talk, you've mentioned this idea of wellness a couple times now, and
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, what does that mean? What is wellness?
Wellness. That to venture into that territory in some ways is to establish some parameters that are much more cultural than and therefore that may not be helpful. I think wellness, if I had to give it a stab, I would say it's the capacity for some level of emotional balance, to be able to experience a broad range of feelings and experiences, and to keep moving toward one's, in this sense, academic goals.
Okay.
So if we talk about wellness from a student perspective, they are here to be able to learn to get a degree. And while they're here, they're going to experience lots of things: victory, defeat. They're going to have, they're going to fall in love. They're going to have their hearts broken. They're going to have, they may have people close to them die. All these sorts of experiences. And as they move through those, how can they maintain some level of balance? I mean, they can feel lots of things, but keep moving toward their academic goal. That's how I might define wellness.
Okay. Now,
Maybe.
when you were talking about students accessing services, what about BART? Is BART a part of this?
Well, it is. BART, you guys talk about that BART thing much?
We talked
we've
about it
talked about
before
BART
with-
before
Yeah.
on shows. Absolutely.
When we had Chip Reese on, we talked about BART.
Chip Reese.
Yeah,
Really?
you've heard of the man, right?
You had that guy on here?
Yes, we
That
have.
is BART.
Okay, yeah, he is. In fact, that guy has a Bart tattoo. I'm not telling you where it is, but he can make it dance. Bart, we are part of that. In fact, we are a major referral source for Bart. I'm on the Bart committee. I like to think I'm one of the founders of Bart.
Okay.
We're sort of like the Justice League, you know, in the comic books.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not sure what my superpower is, but it's not Aquaman because that guy's lame.
Okay.
But we are part of that whole Bart system.
And BART stands for?
Behavioral Action and Response Team.
Okay.
And the whole purpose?
No, Behavior Assessment and Response Team.
Okay.
Action was something, we came up with lots of different names. Some of them, the acronyms were actually dirty. I came up with those. Yeah. But the BART is
no
what we settled on.
surprise. Absolutely. And just to give a broad overview of what BART is, its purpose is to provide a crisis response type procedure team for students or people on campus who are experiencing some sort of mental health crisis. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's a crisis component. There's also a planning component. Like, for instance, look through the wrong lens, it could seem to be almost like a way to target students who are a problem and get them off campus.
Okay.
But what it actually is, we target students and situations that are of potential concern, and then actually do the opposite. We try to be able to generate academic success. I mean, even the most cynical way to look at this is if we get rid of all the students, none of us have a job.
That's right.
So, but our goal here,
right?
We try to. But our goal is for people to be able to show up and do the things that they need to do. Everybody, even those students who may have some behavioral concerns. So it's a way of being able to talk about students in need. It's a way of being able to keep campus safe. I don't know, after the events of, after a number of events in which there have been shootings and mass shootings on college campuses, something like BART has sort of been initiated. And it's a way of being able to prevention is an element of this, I think, that I'd like to stress, not just crisis.
I guess it's really, and I think that's well stated. I think it's really more about, as you talk, early intervention before it gets to crisis, and Chip Reese discussed that component of really what it's all about, and what we're about is trying to intervene when students are having trouble before it becomes so problematic.
How many of your referrals come through BART?
Well, sometimes it seems like 6,000.
Okay.
But it's still a small percentage. Most of our referrals are self-referrals.
Just
and then people who know our services, and that's actually a good thing. You want people who have an awareness that there's a service on campus that they can make use of, and they come to us. And that's usually generates some level of success. And then we have staff and faculty who make referrals, and then BART. But the BART referrals, I mean, it's got to be under 1%. There aren't that many people on the BART radar.
Right.
That's because we don't really, knock on wood. We are a safe campus. We have things pretty under control. We have a good student body. So again, a knock on wood, but we don't have a lot of that.
But is that, as faculty, does that mean we're not making the referrals we should, or is it just?
No, in fact, we have a really good relationship. I was talking with several faculty yesterday. The faculty seem to know us, and they seem comfortable with us, and they seem to be able to call us in as needed. We've, again, we got a good relationship with staff and faculty too. So,
I think
after this show, though, there may not be.
That'll change completely.
Could be the,
you're chipping away at that fairly consistently, but I think it is. I think it is a reflection of a smaller university, and students and faculty are in a position to know one another. Faculty are in a better position in smaller universities to support students on a personal level.
Just numbers.
And exactly, and I think that human connection, that human element, something that most of us here, except for perhaps Dr. Conklin, value here at the university.
He's a robot, I think, is what he really is.
My job's to ask questions.
He's
Don't get involved.
He's got his blood is ice.
But
ice in his veins.
If I'm a student and I'm watching this right now, and I'm wondering, do I need to talk to someone? Like, are there some basic red flags that one might need or want to be aware of about themselves that might indicate, maybe you should go into the counseling center, just sit down, talk with someone?
Well, this may seem like I'm joking, but I'm not. I think the first thing to think about is it is a free service.
Okay.
So at the smallest inkling of anything, you should avail yourself of, you should come in and talk with someone. There doesn't need to be, the threshold should be very small, simply because it is free and does not take much of your time. And everyone on the planet would benefit from a little therapy. They just would.
Okay.
I might say that because this is an academic institution, the first thing you see, the sort of canary in the coal mine, is usually any sort of academic disturbance, difficulty concentrating, difficulty being able to meet any sort of academic demands.
Okay.
The next time, I think relational conflict. If you find yourself beginning to isolate yourself, if you find yourself getting angry, difficulty relating to friends, difficulty making friends and connections. And we can go up the ladder as we go into, and what often happens, and this is a good predictor of success, students who make use of our service the earliest possible, the earliest part of the semester, when they begin to feel any sort of disruption in their capacities, that is going to generate a whole lot more success. Those who come to us a week before the semester's over, we'll do what we can, but by then, things have often kind of happened, So, does that answer your question?
Yeah. So what process do students go through to receive services? Is it a difficult thing to?
No, it's pretty simple. They just give us a ring. We will ask them questions over the phone.
Okay.
It's hardly to get a sense, because if it's like an emergency, we want to be able to act then.
Kind of a triage.
Yeah, it's triage. In fact, that's what we call it.
Okay.
It's a smart guy.
It's all right. It's all right.
I like that guy.
We try not to let that get out.
Okay. We'll ask some questions over the phone, then we want you to come in and meet with us face to face. We give you a couple of little tests. The whole thing takes about 30, 45 minutes. And then from there, we can get you in our system and go from there.
Okay, okay.
So,
students will be seen how quickly? I mean, is it one of these things where we'll make an appointment for you for a couple of weeks, or we'll get you in?
Well,
if it's a crisis.
If it's a crisis, you're seen immediately.
Okay.
So if there's a crisis, we always, it'll be the same day.
But it's not 24/7.
We're only open from Monday to Friday.
Okay. So don't have a crisis on the weekend.
Well, if you have a crisis, I'm always on call.
And there's also call the campus police.
Yeah, there's campus police. So you always have a way of, and the campus police can catch me, or if you call, there's a number that you can contact us.
Okay.
So we're always available.
Okay.
But if you're needing to be seen, we typically schedule that between Monday and Friday. If your concerns are, and there often comes a point in which during the semester where then there are far more students seeking services than there are us.
Okay.
And if that happens, sometimes there may be a week or two you have to wait. But that's only if the situation is something we think you'd still be okay. And we'll always give you options. If we can't see you within that time frame, we'll give you some spots where you can be seen if you need to.
Okay.
But usually the triage will happen within a day or so of being contacted.
Okay.
And that will be your first contact. And so you'll get our services then. So.
Okay.
I sounded kind of weaselly, but.
Well, but if that's the way it works, that's
It is,
the way
yeah.
it works. Yeah. Now we were talking
Beverage
about
business.
people coming in for services. Do you run into a lot of severe mental health issues?
We do. We
Okay.
see a lot of pretty severe stuff, hence the hospitalizations, and that's okay.
Which you said was, what, 35 a year?
Yeah, so, but well, you mentioned the diversity piece.
Yes.
There are a full range of where people are in terms of their emotional health. And you should be able to come to college even with severe mental health concerns, and there should be services here to help you to be able to get to where you need to go.
Excellent.
So we see that stuff, and we see more and more of it. And again, I go back to it. It's because of success. It's not because the sky's falling or that the world has gotten worse. But to remind, there's a wonderful book. Ever read Steven Pinker, The Angels of Our Better Nature? Ever read this? It's
No.
Pinker sort of has this, he shows how that as opposed to things getting worse, violence has declined across globally. So many things are indicators that our general quality of life has gotten better.
Right.
And we often look at these mental health reports and, incidences of depression and child abuse and sexual trauma. But what's actually happened is we now live in a culture and a society that starts to notice those things.
Right.
Sure.
And bring them out.
Yeah, so as opposed to being a sign of bad things, it's a sign that we're beginning to grow up and get healthier. Because we're now and so, again, those sorts of things, that's what we're here for. It's severe stuff, not so severe, We're there.
Okay. So do students, when students come in to see you, is this, the students need to worry about it somehow being documented, following them, professors finding out.
If you came into us and told us you were, had the highest profit meth lab on campus, we would not be able to say anything. It is completely confidential. So, in fact, and it would never happen. But if for some strange chance it did, it's like winning the lottery. You could sue us, make a lot of money. Everything that FERPA and HIPAA are both. We serve two masters in that sense.
Okay.
So nothing you say to us. And one of the common concerns is if a student came in and said, you know what, I feel bad, I cheated on a test. Well, as long as, and this is the one caveat, everything you say to us is protected. As long as you're over the age of 18, your parents, the professors, your priest, your mohel, whatever you got, we keep it confidential. But if you are a threat to yourself or other, we'll do what we need to do to protect you, to make sure you don't make the sort of choices that can hurt somebody else or yourself. So there are going to be instances where, like with the hospitalizations, if somebody's in a bad place, we're going to make sure that you're okay, that you don't make the sort of decisions that you can't unmake.
Okay.
So those are the caveats.
Yeah, yeah. I hate to stop you right now, but we need to take a break. I'd like to remind you, you're watching Education Forum.
Experiencing and what is going on in the world around you, not just with your child, but it broadens our capacity to be mindful and keep in mind what's going on in politics and things like this ISIS thing. It allows us to have a more measured response. It allows us to sort of think about, and again, not that, this is not in any way to be an apologist for horrible actions. The sort of things that happen in ISIS cannot be